The governor and his entourage have a hectic schedule today, but I can tell you they'll be glad to be here in a few minutes. But we'll get started first. Welcome, and we're glad you're here to listen and to learn and to ask questions with Governor Justice, Secretary Tom Smith, as they arrive here in just a few minutes. But to open things up, we'd like to get started with the Executive Director of the West Virginia Education Association, Mr. Dale Lee.
I'm actually the president of the West Virginia Education Association. No, I'll take where I'm at. I'm Dale Lee. I'm a high school special ed math and history teacher from Princeton Senior High School, and I've been on leave for the past now 10 years to serve as president of the West Virginia Education Association. The WVEA is the state's oldest and largest teacher organization, and we've been around 152 years. So our purpose is to ensure that every child in West Virginia has a great public education. And it's an honor to be here. I always stay at the South Branch Inn when I come over to Moorefield, and so I feel like I'm partly coming home to come here. But it's an honor to come and speak to you on this important issue. One of the things that we've done this year is to combine forces with business, Chamber of Commerce, coal, all labor. All of us have joined together to speak in behalf of this roads bond, because we know that the roads bond is the way to prosperity for West Virginia. Now, I come at it from a little different perspective. I'm going to ask you, by a show of hands, how many of you have either children, grandchildren, or even great-grandchildren that are in our public schools? Then you know, as I do, that that is the most important thing, the most valuable asset that we have in our state. That's why I became a teacher, is to help make a difference for kids. One of the things that absolutely amazes me as I've traveled around the state, and I've been to all 55 counties, is the deplorable roads that our kids have to travel across. I can take you places where the road is caved in certain areas, and the parents have to get the kids at least a mile to the area where the bus can pick them up. The bus can't go the regular route anymore because it has to stop. There's a bridge and I'm going to give you the quick version now since the governor's just showed up and talked. There's a bridge in Fayette County where the bus stops, the kids get out of the bus, go across the bridge, then the bus goes across, and then the kids get back on the bus. Folks, that's just unacceptable. That is unacceptable for us in West Virginia. And more importantly, we have to find a way to get the jobs back in West Virginia so that when our kids do graduate, they have a place here to stay. I'm tired of everybody leaving West Virginia. I'm tired of all the kids that I've taught having to leave West Virginia to find good jobs. We need to get to prosperity. I told you I was a history teacher. I'm going to give you a quick history lesson. In 1952, Governor Marlin was the only governor from Wyoming County, which is where I grew up. And he proposed that we do a severance tax on coal and we needed to build roads, infrastructure, and education. Have we done that in 1952? Have we built the highways that we need? Look where we'd be as a state today. Have we expanded so that we weren't just coal-driven, so we were a diversified state and had the roads to bring manufacturing in? Look where we'd be as a state. Well, I don't want history to repeat itself. And this is an opportunity for us to do that now. It's an opportunity for us to build the roads, the highways, and get roads and highways fixed so that we can have that prosperity. You know, as I've traveled around the state, I've hit a lot of potholes. You know, one of them, if there hadn't been a Volkswagen in it, I would have probably lost my car. But this is a way to get these things fixed. This is a way for us as West Virginians, not as Democrats or Republicans, as West Virginians, to put our state first and foremost and make sure that we prosper. Because I'm a lifelong West Virginian. This is the greatest state there is. I've traveled all over the country, and everywhere I go, I want to make sure that I come home. I'm going to introduce to you now one of the finest people that I know. He is the Highways Commissioner and really one of the hardest working people I know, and that's Tom Smith.
Thank you so much, Dale, for that introduction. Really happy to be here in Moorefield. It's one of my favorite places because we're right next door to Quarter H, and I've been out here over the years, many years, since 1999, watching and actually helped negotiate the settlement agreement that got Quarter H going again in 1999. So thrilled to see the progress that we have here. The governor's program allows us to make some additional progress on Quarter H. So what I want to do now is introduce my boss. My job is the easiest one here. What I'd like to say is Governor Justice is the man who came up with this vision for transportation funding as a way to actually leapfrog us ahead for economic recovery. It's big. It's 2.6. Butch is telling me we need 3 minutes here. So I was going to say it's well. Let me do this since we have a minute. As we travel out and about. The road bond is something the governor will want to talk to you about, but we get 3 questions, and it's easy for me to go over those and give you those answers so you know those right up front. The first one is, does it require any new taxes to fund this? And the answer is no, and you'll hear him talk more about that. The second thing is, what's in it for me? And if you look at that map on the far left, you can see that all the parts of the program that we put together result in about 600 projects. There's something there for every county, millions of dollars for every county, something for every citizen in the state of West Virginia. And then the final thing is, what happens if this doesn't pass? And the real answer to that is it's just a tremendous missed opportunity for economic recovery. It's a missed opportunity for very favorable bonding, that the cost of inflation will be more than the cost of bonding, and so this will cost more later. It will cost more because there's inflation, and it'll cost more because of deterioration. If we don't have the bond, we have to actually use the smaller pot of money to do all the work that we need to get done. So that means the schedule stretches out. It means we don't get to those 600 projects, many of them not to them at all, and many of them not for a much longer period of time. And then the final thing that if the bond doesn't pass, that we miss is giving citizens the safe roads that we know they need and deserve. And so it's quite significant what you all will be doing on Saturday. What we really want to say to you all is get out and vote. Make your mind up for yourself. Listen to the facts. Make your mind up for yourself and get out and vote. And with that, Butch, I'm looking for the sign. Okay. It sounds like he's on the way. So I was starting my drum roll speech with his program is big. It's $2.6 billion. It's bold. It's 48,000 immediate jobs. Those are jobs that you can actually have flowing into our economy right away. And it really provides for immediate economic recovery for our state and hope for our citizens. And so I am peering. It looks like he is here. So what I would like you all to do is rise and welcome the 36th governor of the state of West Virginia, Governor Jim Justice.
How are y'all doing? Hope everybody's good. Thank y'all so much for having me, and I'm sorry we're late. The people in Kaiser talk a lot. Okay. Tom, thank you, sir. Thank you, Dale. Thank all of you for having me. And I'm going to sit here and just talk to you and answer your questions, okay? First of all, I drive by a lot of cornfields out here, and I'm been in the ag business forever, and really partial to growing corn. And believe it or not, now I can tell you a lot about cornfields and how they're grown and the varieties and lots of stuff. But you must have had pretty good rain because the corn looks pretty daggum good. And of course, you always grow nice crops here, and that's good stuff. I see you're chopping around the edge of the fields and so on like that. A lot of that, are there any farmers here that, any of those fields are theirs? But that's good. Are you planning on picking the rest of it?
Chopping everything.
Chopping everything?
Yeah.
Great time of day. Okay. Well, you better get to work. I mean, that's all there is to it. But how about you, sir? Are you going?
Chop part of it.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Well, okay. The biggest reason I'm here is just this, I want to make sure that I come back, to the Eastern Panhandle and let you know that you've got a governor that knows that there is an Eastern Panhandle and it's just not a forgotten area of the world. You got a lot of nice things going on here, and I've said it when I was here, a lot of things that go on within the Eastern Panhandle that you could really teach Charleston a lot of your good tricks. And so all that being said, there's a big thing getting ready to happen, and it's this roads thing. Now, a lot of you have been in this state for a long time, and I would just tell you just as simply as I could possibly tell you, I am in this for one reason and one reason alone, and that is to have goodness happen to West Virginia. I don't want to think, and I've said it and said it and said it. It's almost boring for me to talk about the same stuff over and over, but you didn't hear the same stuff before. But just envision this. What in the world good is being governor to me? Why did I choose to do it? I don't need the money. I don't need the ego and the status. Well, then why? And the why is right here in this room. You're here today because you care. And that's what I do. I really do care. And I know I'm not going to live forever. And I want us to be something other than the bad end of a bad joke a lot of times. West Virginians are good people. They're craftsmen. They're faith-based. They're good people. And we have a state that abounds in natural resources beyond belief. We have 4 of the most beautiful seasons in all the world. We have good schools. And we have absolutely the thing that is so overlooked. We are so close to 2/3 of the people in this whole country, and they're the market for us. So, you got the market, you got the natural resources, whether it be coal, oil, gas, timber, water. Agriculture has always kind of been kicked to the curb, and there's so many opportunities within agriculture, it's unbelievable. But you've never had a governor that understands agriculture. But I do. Forever we were the biggest farmers, cash grain farmers, corn, wheat, soybeans primarily, from east of the Mississippi River. And even this year alone, we've probably planted 23 or 4,000 acres of row crops. Now, we planted probably more soybeans this year than we normally would have done, and we didn't plant any double crop beans, behind wheat, so we didn't have any wheat. So our acreage is a little down. At one time, we planted 68,000 acres of row crops. So I know a heck of a lot about, I've planted thousands and thousands of acres of corn and harvested thousands and thousands of acres myself, and I'm the agronomy end of what we do agriculturally. So I know something about a cornfield. Now, I don't profess to know everything there is about anything, but let me just tell you this. let's just be blunt and be fair. Forever, we have been dead last in West Virginia at most everything we do. I just said all the things, whether it be the seasons or the craftsmen or the good people or the proximity to population or the natural resources that we have. How could we have pulled that off? And I'll tell you how you've pulled it off. You've pulled it off primarily with a lot of politicians along the way that had their own agenda. They just wanted to stay reelected. And they've done things that probably weren't the smartest. You've never really had a business guy. You've never had anybody that really had a lot of creativity. You know, now I'm not taking anything away from those that have been there in the past, but really you've got a real chance now. And I've got a chance to do something really good. And that's what I want to do. Now, there may be people here that are, you know, that are Democrats or whatever that are saying, well, why did he switch parties? And I want to just tell you, you know, I worked really, really, really hard to get you a budget passed. And I had it done. I had it done. Like it or not like it, I had it done. Now, I had the Senate that was with me, and I had enough House votes on the Republican side to pass it. And it could have helped a lot of people. Could have helped our vets, could have helped our teachers. It could have helped the sick and the needy, the most needy. It could have set us on a pathway of doing stuff where we exempted Social Security to our elderly. It could have put us on a pathway of really doing a lot of good stuff. And at the 11th hour, my own people left me. And the reason they left me is they were in a food fight with the Republicans over nothing. Over absolutely just the smallest tax reform that would have reduced your income taxes. But it was only for those people that had an income of $100,000 or less. And they dove in the ditch. And when they dove in the ditch, then the Republicans dove in the ditch. And at the end of the day, what did we get done? Really, at the end of the day, we didn't do anything. Nothing. We went back and circled back and we said we got a $500 million deficit and we cut this and cut this and cut this and cut this to make it work. And the only way we could end up making it work is I put money in it, basically projection, not real money, just projected money of what I thought that the economic benefits of the roads would be. Now that's what happened. Now you can say what you want. And from Jim Justice's standpoint, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to run that same play over and over and over, whether you like it or not like it. I'm not going to do that because I can't help you. I cannot help you running that play. We got nothing done. Now, I don't need to ride in the parade and you pat me on the back and say you're the governor and all that stuff. I need, for me and for you, to get something done. That's what I'm here for. Right here today, that's what I'm here for, and I hope and pray that that's why you're here. Now, I can't be more honest and more blunt with anybody. No way. No way. I love the Democrats. I love the Republicans. I would say to you, if you're more affiliated to a party than you are to being a good West Virginian, then you got a problem with me. Because I think that it shouldn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. What should matter is that we're all West Virginians and we need to get going and get something done for all of us. You know too many people that have had to leave West Virginia to go get a job. Now you know them. Well, you know that we're the only state in the union that is losing population. And the brass tacks facts of the thing is just this. This roads idea is such an incredible idea, and I do it everywhere I go. I give all the credit for everything in the world of my life to the good Lord. And I truly give him super all the credit for the good ideas, and I'll take credit for the bad ones. But this is a humdinger. a humdinger of an idea. It doesn't raise your taxes in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Anybody that's told you that, that's garbage. That's not the truth. It's just plain not the truth. The other thing is we're going to try to hire as many West Virginians as we possibly can to do the jobs, and hopefully we'll end up hiring every job will be a West Virginian. But reality is that won't happen. But I'll tell you this, those contractors that are hiring people that aren't from West Virginia, we will urge them in every way to hire West Virginians, and on top of that, we'll make dadgum sure that every tax dollar is collected. Every tax dollar. Now, let me tell you real quick. The only way this doesn't pass is if you don't vote. The only way in the world it doesn't pass is if you don't go vote. If it passes, somebody here, anywhere, tell me what's the downside of a yes vote. I'm telling you, there is no downside. No matter what anybody says, other than somebody trying to tell you some smoke and mirrors, just a bunch of junk, and saying, you know, your taxes are going to go up or whatever. I mean, that's just not true. Now, I can tell you that, you can buy it or not buy it, but the reality is just this. What if I was selling you a bond? Would you buy it if it didn't have a guaranteed funding? Would you buy it based on the fact that I would say, well, maybe the state legislature is going to raise taxes and fund it? Well, you'd never buy it. You'd never buy it. There's no way. It is impossible to sell the bonds betting on a possibility of something happening. And furthermore, I would tell you this, there's not a chance on this planet that the legislature is going to vote to raise taxes, no matter what I say, no matter what I do. So that myth that somebody has spewed out some level of venom, don't buy that. That's garbage. It's just total garbage. Let me tell you, and then I'll quit, and then I'll let you ask anything you choose to ask. What is the downside of a no vote? Now here's the reality. You got a $500 million deficit. A no vote will guarantee you that the roads won't get fixed and the roads will get worse. A no vote will guarantee you substantial further cuts in everything from the government. Medicaid, DHHR, veterans, teachers. A no vote will guarantee closures of more schools. A no vote will guarantee more hits to our universities and higher ed. A no vote will guarantee more hits to K through 12. That's what will happen. I'll promise you to the Lord above, a no vote will lead us to nowhere to turn except go back and cut more. And when that happens, more people will leave. More people will leave. Then what are you going to have? The revenue's going to go down even more. And you're going to turn around and that hole's still going to be here. Now, Greenbrier East High School, you know, I'm a basketball coach too, and I've been with kids, and I'm really proud of that. Really, really, really proud to have had the opportunity to be with kids forever. And it's, you know, I don't go on vacations. I don't do anything. I love West Virginia. But I love to be with those kids too. Let me tell you a story real quick, and I may have told you this before when I was in Moorefield, but it's worth telling. You know, a kid came to Greenbrier East one day, and on the way to school, somebody had run over a raccoon, and he stopped and picked it up, threw it in his pickup truck, and got to school and tied fishing line to his leg and around the head of the raccoon, and took off running down the halls of the school with that raccoon like 3 foot behind him, dragging that raccoon, screaming at the top of his lungs. Well, people were diving in the classrooms. Teachers were diving. Everybody was diving everywhere and everything. And I thought it was just great. I thought, you know, we need to reward that kid for creative thinking, you know, and everything. But that kid got in a lot of trouble and everything. But I could have never done it to him. No way in the world, because I thought it was the funniest thing I've seen forevermore. But But the bottom line to just this is, we don't do this, we're going to have massive cuts, and we're going to turn around, that raccoon's going to still be right behind us. We're going to still have a hole. We're going to close senior centers. We're going to do, I mean, it's just going to be catastrophic what can happen. Now, last thing I'd tell you this is, this produces tens of thousands of jobs. It creates revenue like you can't imagine, and it gets your roads fixed. And that revenue turns around and spins right back into everything, education and everything, seniors, everything. You know, we got to do this. That's all there is to it. And you got to get out and vote like crazy, and you got to get your in-laws and outlaws and everybody that you know to come and vote. Because if it doesn't pass, well, if it doesn't pass, probably most everybody here is going to be okay. I know I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to probably go growl something, you know, and I'm going to still try as best I possibly can to help our state in every way for as long as I'm your governor. But at the same time, I don't know where in the world we'll turn. Wherever we turn is going to be bad for somebody, because we're going to have to take something away from somebody if we don't do this, because we have no way of generating instant revenue. Now, there's a lot of things that could happen. You know, we could have a natural gas hub that could happen, or we could do other things in agriculture, or we could level off a spot out here and hopefully somebody'd come and put a factory. But you see, that's all down the road, and it's betting on the come. And you don't know if they'll show up if you build a field and they'll come. And in the meantime, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to cut. Now, ask me anything you choose to ask, please. Please. Anything. It doesn't, you know, you've got to understand this too. There was a lady in Beckley, West Virginia, a long time ago. Now, since now she's passed away. She used to say, Jim is as common as an old shoe. Well, it's not real flattering, but it's just me. It's just all I want to be. You see, I grew up, my grandparents never had indoor plumbing. You know, I am the American dream. I've worked. My family worked. So somebody ask anything, please. Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain just real simply
I'll try.
how it's going to work? Because I think one of the missing links for some people and why they think it's going to cost more is that they don't understand the nuts and bolts of how it's going together. How the money's, where is the money coming from, really? If we're not going to be taxed for it, where do you say it's coming from?
Well, you're already taxed for it. You know, that's the thing. You're already being taxed for it today. You have been for months, all right? But where you're taxed for it that you can't even see it because it's so minuscule is you're taxed for it in little teeny buckets. You're taxed for it like 3-point-something cents on the wholesale gas tax, and it's all going to highways. That's the gas. On the DMV fees, your DMV fees changed from $30 to $50 or something like that, and that's all going in that bucket. The privilege tax used to be 5%, and now it's 6%, and that's if you buy a new vehicle. You know, and that goes in that bucket. And the turnpike tolls are a long, long ways away from here. They're a long ways. But what's going to happen is people that want to drive on the turnpike, we're going to offer them the right to be able to do that for $8, and they can get an easy pass, and they can go boom for a year for $8. Okay? If you don't ever go on a turnpike, you don't pay anything. But that's what goes into that bucket, because 77% of the people that drive on a turnpike are from out of state. And so that's what makes up that bucket. Now, what happens, I'm going to draw, okay? I'm going to say the gas thing amounts to $70 million, that one. The DMV amounts to 30. The privilege, amounts to 15. And the turnpike tolls are big, and they amount to 70 million. But what happens is, and these numbers are wrong and everything, but what happens is you put all this into a bucket, a big bucket, all of it together, okay? And then here's where I come into play, and this is where I'm good, okay? Then I take the big bucket of money, and let's say that's really about $130 million total. So these numbers are wrong up here, okay? Now, am I right about that, Tom, so far? Okay. So you put all this in a bucket, and then I take it to somebody like, Goldman Sachs or something, and I say, I want to do a 25-year bond to where I can pledge this to pay the bond off. So you don't pay any more. You don't do anything else. I put that in a bond, and then it turns into $3 billion. Okay? And then what I can do is I can instantly let all these road jobs. I can do that tomorrow. Okay? Plus the fact that I'll have, say their cost $2 billion. Then I'll have an extra $1 billion of money that I'll be able to turn right back into all the local projects and fix all the existing roads. But it turns it into instant jobs. You don't pay anything else. You're already paying this. Nothing else is paid. Does that help? Okay. Was that good enough answer, or do you want me to go?
I guess where I get lost a little bit is I'm not exactly sure how a bond works in this sense.
Well, most of the time, and that's the downside. Most of the time when you hear bond or you hear levy, you're thinking, well, we're voting on something that raises taxes so we'll have money to do something. That's not the case here. And the reason it's not the case is all the funding was put in place by the legislature in the past. And so really all you're voting on is the ability to put all these together. That's all you're voting on, to put them all together, and then our people will go out and sell the bond. Now, if you don't put them together, here's what happens. You no vote, okay? You don't put them together. Then what happens is that money trickles in, but it comes in at $130 million a year. You pay it anyway. It comes in at $130 million every year. And what will happen is Tom will do some road projects, but ultimately it'll take 20 years to do stuff. In the meantime, you won't have created this massive amount of jobs, so you won't have any revenue. You won't have any revenue spilling over. It'll take 20 years to do it, and sure as I know my name, what'll happen about 4 or 5 years down the road, you're having this trickle of money coming in. If you bond it the way I'm talking about, every dime constitutionally has got to go to the roads. Everything. Every single dime of that $3 billion has to go to the roads. If you don't do that, and you have this trickle in, it'll be intended to go for the roads. But what will happen is just this. Government has a great way of, if you'll forgive me, of peeing away your money. You're going to pay it anyway, okay? And what will happen is down the road, somebody, not me, but somebody will say, well, we got a problem over here with DHHR, or we got a problem over here with the veterans, so we're going to take a little bit of that and put it over here, and we're going to hire some more people for the whatever over here, and your money will just get peed away. And your roads won't get fixed. Now that's what I think could happen. Yes, ma'am.
What prevents that $3 billion from being taken for those other projects?
It's constitutionally prohibited. And the reason that it's prohibited is that's the way we set it up. We set it up that when this bond is done, all those dollars have got to go to him. Every single one of the dollars have got to go to him.
So the legislature 5 years from now can't change that?
Now you're in a parliamentary, process that I guess the legislature has the power to change things, but you sold those bonds. And I would say absolutely not, because you sold those bonds with the constitutional requirement that this is what's done with the money. These are good questions, but y'all can keep going. Yes, ma'am.
As part of the Potomac Highlands, Hardee County is really interested in seeing the Mountain Skyway or Corridor H finished. What funds within this would go toward the completion of that road?
I'm gonna let him tell you a couple things, but let me say one thing before he tells you this, okay? Now look, I travel all over the state, and I've got people in southern West Virginia that are crazy about a job that they've got there, or people in the northern panhandle that they want something there. The Coalfield Expressway has been on the books for 27 years in southern West Virginia, and it's still not done. The 4-lane highway from Man to Logan, Route 10 was, it's a disastrously dangerous road, and it took 20 years to do it, and they just finished it. There are projects within this state that are enormously important, and the Coalfield Expressway is one of them. But I want you to know, and I've said it and said it and said it, there is no project in this state, and I've said it in southern West Virginia, I've said it all over the place, and you can go pull up the stuff if you don't believe it. There is no project in this state that is as important as Corridor H. No way. No way. What it brings to this state is unbelievable. Now, I'll let Tom talk, and then I'd say the end of it is after he talks and says what we're doing next, then I would say to you that the other flip side of me changing parties is whether you like him or not like him, I've got a great relationship with Donald Trump, and I would tell him if he was sitting right here, he can get out on a limb and he can drive us all bonkers at some point in time. But I really, truly believe that they're going to genuinely do something for West Virginia. And where this could all roll right into is just this. We get this going, 2 or 3 years down the road, he has his infrastructure thing. He puts real live money in West Virginia. We finish the whole deal. Now, Tom.
One of the things that we need to do with the magic marker, and I keep telling myself this, and I'm going to do it today, that's Corridor H right there. That US 48 is Corridor H. Currently, we have about a 7-mile project starting on the Kearns to Parsons section, coming from Kearns toward Parsons. That's currently under contract. The governor's program lets us finish that up over to Parsons, so that opens the next section of roadway up there with Corridor H. And then we only have 2 sections left, the Parsons to Davis section and the Wardensville to Virginia State Line section.
I have a question for you. I understand that Corridor H is going to be, very important for the infrastructure of the state and getting out to the populations. But my concerns, and I was wondering if you can elaborate if you're working with the state of Virginia, because it seems to be kind of fertile here down here in Wardensville. Is there any possibility that it's going to be extended out to 81? And that's going to give us that great big 81 north to south.
Time out. That's where I come into play.
Okay, but then the question's for you.
Okay, but that's where I come into play. That's where I come into play with Donald Trump. That's where I come into play with setting on them to say that's what we got to get done. This has to be done. This has to be done. It has to be completed. And Virginia's got to participate in everything. But that's where I come into play.
Have you had any talks with Virginia, and are they receptive? I mean, previously I know they weren't very receptive.
Okay, I don't have to have those talks with Virginia. I've got to have those talks with Donald Trump and the federal administration today. I've got to have those talks with him because I've got to convince him of the need and the importance of Corridor H, and then I've got to let him, of course I would be glad to talk to Virginia and everything, don't get me wrong, but that's where it's got to come from. It's got to come from the top down.
One quick thing I'll point out is if we open one more section of Corridor H, it's going to be the tipping point. You're going to have traffic streaming across West Virginia instead of Maryland, and Virginia's going to have to build their section. I mean, you're going to have so much traffic coming across the center part of the state here that Virginia will say, now it's time for us to get our part done.
Because I just see that 81 is such a viable north-south transport lane, and we really need to be connected. That's what open the whole state up, especially this area for us.
I agree 1,000%. Yes, ma'am.
If I'm not mistaken, it was the 2 administrations ago in the state of Virginia, they did approve building Corridor H. They have just not, they're like West Virginia, they do not have the money to do it. They've been negotiating with the federal government to do it. And because of their economy, it's not one of their on their priority list. But it's not that they're not for building it, they just do not have the money, is what I have understood from the media.
Well, I can't answer whether they've not had the money, but I'm gonna get myself in trouble here, no. But for good or for bad, you had a past president that wasn't real crazy about West Virginia, you know, and so it probably didn't matter much, you know, and you got one now for whatever the reason may be, and I think wholeheartedly that it is because he genuinely cares about me too, and so I just think I think we're gonna get it done. That's all there is to it. The other flip side that I would say, and then I'm going to end, is because I know y'all have heard enough from me, but the thing that I would say is just this: we can all think of some little something extra we'd like to have, or some part of this that doesn't quite fit, you know, or something that we'd. But I say to you just as point blank as I can say, how's it working for you now? What's getting done now? If it creates 10,000 jobs instead of 48,000 jobs, and if we build 400 projects instead of 600 projects and everything, isn't that a whole lot better than none? If it creates enough revenue that we can fund our schools and prevent closing another school, and we can actually have people come here and raise wages and all those good things happen, isn't that better than none? And I'm going to tell you, our estimates are low. We're going to create more jobs than this. We're going to pay it off faster than this. These bonds are going to trade at a premium because this state truly is going to move. And it's already happening. And I don't know if you will admit to this, but today, West Virginians are walking around with a little more hope and a little teeny bit better smile than we were 6 months ago. And we're on our way. We're on our way. There's going to be good stuff happen. And the other thing, I'll end by just saying this: we have to stop this drug problem. I thank you. It'd been nice if y'all had all joined in there. I mean, let me tell you. From an economic standpoint, I think education ought to be the centerpiece to everything we have. Period. That's all there is to it. I think it ought to drive everything we have. I think it's crazy for us to have 600 or 700 classrooms. We don't have teachers because we can't compete with the other states and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But there's way more than that. Education ought to drive our economy instead of us saying, oh my gosh, how are we going to fund education? That's from an economic standpoint. But from our way of life and who we are and growing our state, if we don't fix this drug thing, first and foremost, it'll cannibalize us. It'll kill us. And jobs will really help. And that'll bring hope, and that'll really that'll help an awful lot. But boy, I'll tell you, we got a problem there. And you can't fix it with a Band-Aid and aspirin. It's a problem. It is an absolute problem. And we got to fix it. And we're good enough to fix it, and we're good people, and we're going to fix it. Now, I got to run. God bless you, and thank you for having me in every way. And more than anything, thank you for coming. You see, I care. But you care because you got stuff to do. But you chose to come today. Now, my last would be, if you don't vote, we lose. That's all there is to it. The turnout's going to be low anyway, and without any question, and you better listen to me on this, you better listen, the single biggest vote in the history of this state. That's how important this is. You know, in Iraq, when they had their election and everything, they put their little fingers in the little ink thing and everything because they were proud to have voted. If you stay home and you don't vote in the biggest and the most significant election in the history of this state, in the history of this blooming state, don't stay home. Go vote. Make your kids go. For crying out loud, you don't want to miss the biggest of all time. Thank you again for having me. God bless.